Happy holidays. Good evening. Glad that you are watching us on the county's television. On the news tonight. Baringo Hospital almost deserted as many patients opt to persevere through their illnesses at home due to the biting healthcare workers' strike. ODM leader Raila Odinga holds meeting with coastal leaders in a post-mortem of Msambweni by-election, which ODM lost to an independent candidate. Plus, maize farmers in North Rift push for higher maize prices as the National Cereals Board readies to start purchasing farmers' produce. And tonight we have two special reports on education and COVID-19. The disruption the latter has meted on the former, almost costing the country an academic year. Faith Cheptile is our sign language interpreter. TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi, begins right now. Good evening and welcome to the broadcast. To our top story now, and Baringo Referral Hospital is tonight sick. The situation at the hospital is dire after doctors and nurses went on strike, leaving patients stranded at the facility. Some patients were left with no one to attend to, seeking the alternatives of private hospitals. Others opted to go home and persevere through their pain, while others remained at the hospital, hoping that someone might, and just might, attend to them. Sharon Baranga begins our broadcast tonight.
This is Baringo Referral Hospital, the biggest health facility in the county. Thousands of residents depend on it. But for some time now, the hospital has been ailing. Hence, patients who have been coming here to seek treatment have not been receiving services. This is as a result of a doctors' and nurses' strike that has paralyzed operations at the health facility. The situation is dire.
People are sick. We don't choose to be sick or not to. That is something that happens with nature. So I appeal to the government, the nurses should be back to work.
Some patients opted to move out of the facility to seek treatment at private hospitals. Those who are not in a position to afford private services either went to their homes to persevere through their pain, as others remained here hoping that the situation will soon change.
Private
kama hakuna pesa tutafanya nini? Wengine wanaenda nyumbani pala kusaidiwa.
Mara kwa mara unasikia madaktari wameenda strike, madaktari wamefanya hii. Tafadhali mkiwa viongozi muangalie ishi, kwa sababu mtu akikonjeka na kufe tutapoteza. Na ni nini itaonyesha kwamba unatupenda kama unawacha mgonjwa akifa mpaka akufe kwa hospitali?
Baringo residents want the national government to intervene and find a lasting solution to what has been ailing the hospital.
So we are really challenged in terms of resource as a government, in terms of remuneration, because of the monies we get from our national government. But what are we saying? What do we say to our people? Do we leave our people to die? Or do we stand tall as a leader to say, despite the money, I can still offer services in our referral hospital? And that is what we are calling dialogue.
Watu wengi wameongea juu hospitali. Imefika wakati tutakaa chini na executive na sisi kama assembly and stakeholders. Tukae chini tujiulize, is this problem ya hospitali, is it beyond us? Is it something that we can talk to the doctors? Is it something that we cannot manage? I'm sure we will manage.
Meanwhile, Trans Nzoia County Senator wants health officers to be given first priority when the government starts to administer COVID-19 vaccine.
Tayari serikali imelipia 24 million doses ya vaccine ya corona, which is quite substantial, na watu wa kwanza kupata hiyo vaccine itakuwa kwanza our health workers, our frontline workers, ndio watapata hiyo vaccine ya kwanza.
The health sector in the country has been facing numerous challenges, from trying to contain the spread of COVID-19 to losing health workers as a result of the virus, and the doctors and nurses strike who want an increment in their salaries, as well as provision of personal protective equipment against COVID-19. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Elsewhere, Nyamira County Deputy Governor Amos Nyaribo was today sworn into office to serve as the county's second governor following the death of Governor John Nyangarama. Nyaribo promised to stir up economic growth in the county as well as intensify the fight against corruption. Mwangi Maina has the details.
Amos Nyaribo Omariba assumed Nyamira County governorship Tuesday afternoon following the demise of Nyamira's pioneer governor John Obiero Nyagarama, who succumbed to COVID-19 a fortnight ago. Nyaribo was Nyagarama's deputy for 8 years.
And I will do justice to all in accordance with the Constitution and the laws of Kenya without fear, favor, affection, or ill will. So help me God.
The swearing-in ceremony was conducted by Nyamira's High Court Judge, Lady Justice Esther Maina, and subsequent handover of instruments of power by Nyamira County Secretary, which included the county's flag, seal, and the Constitution of Kenya. In his maiden speech, Nyaribo promised to reduce Nyamira's wage bill from 60% to 35%, as well as leading the fight against corruption in the county.
My government will employ strategies aimed at fighting corruption so as to make Nyamira a true corrupt-free zone. We will be zero tolerance to corruption.
Celebrations marked the colorful swearing ceremony, with leaders present, among them Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, Council of Governors Chair Wycliffe Oparanya, and Kisii Governor James Ongwae, promising to work together with the new governor.
Naleta hongera kwa governor wa pili wa Nyamira, na pia tunaleta the assurances of the national government ya kwamba tutafanya kazi naye vile tulikuwa tunafanya kazi na Governor Nyagarama, huo urafiki, and that commitment continues from today.
Governor, vile unajua mimi nitafanya bidii vile nimefanya hapo before kuhakikisha kwamba pesa ya kutosha imefika katika kaunti ya Nyamira. Lakini maombi yangu kama senator ni kwamba pesa ikifika, tafadhali Your Excellency sir, hiyo pesa saidia wananchi hao ambao wametuchagua.
Where there are issues that are not clear, I've been a governor for 8 years. Just call me. We'll support each other. Nobody has a monopoly on knowledge. Even me, sometimes I call my brother Oparanya. I ask him, how do you do this?
The ceremony was conducted at Nyamira Primary School, where the funeral service of the late governor was held 4 days ago. Mwangi Maina, TV47.
Elsewhere, ODM leader Raila Odinga met with the Kwale ODM party members to discuss issues affecting the party at the coast. The indoor meeting comes barely a fortnight after the party suffered defeat on the just concluded Msambweni parliamentary by-election. Fatma Ngwena reports.
ODM party has vowed to fight for its rightful political status come next year. Party officials led by Deputy Party Leader and Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho have dismissed the Msambweni loss as slip by the party. ODM Party Director of Election Junais Mohammed telling of Tanga allies who supported independent candidate Faisal Bader who won the seat.
Tarehe 1 2021 mpaka kura ijayo ya 2022 hakuna biashara nyingine inafanywa hapa. Mimi mwenyewe na wengine and my party leader included ni kupanga siasa ya taifa hili.
Kwa sababu sisi kama chama ni chama ambayo inajulikana Kenya mzima. ODM ndio chama ambayo iko na wabunge katika kila county hapa Kenya.
The leaders were meeting in Kwale County for a postmortem of the Msambweni by-election, which the party leader Raila Odinga says is routine for the party.
Of postmortem, so that we can be able to understand the dynamics, so that the party can be better organized going forward.
The leaders lay emphasis that the defeat will not be a setback for their party, and they are planning to involve mostly the youth and women as one of the strategies to strengthen the party and to ensure its victory in future.
Mwaka huu ujao inshallah tutakuwa na kura, uchaguzi, grassroots elections ili kuzidi kuamsha chama mashinani.
The leaders have vowed to campaign for the BBI referendum. Fatma Ngwena, TV47.
Now, even before he is cleared for the Nairobi City gubernatorial race, exiled lawyer Miguna Miguna has said that he shall not work with the Nairobi Metropolitan Service if elected. Miguna, who is currently based in Canada, is the preferred candidate for the Third Way Party Alliance. Nanok Lorraine with more.
The race to City Hall for the Nairobi City County Governor's seat that fell vacant following Mike Sonko's impeachment is promising to be an interesting one. Miguna Miguna, Third Way Alliance political party's most preferred candidate for the Nairobi Governor's seat, in a recent tweet said he will not work with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services (NMS) if elected. The exiled lawyer said NMS is an illegal outfit since it was not elected by the people of Nairobi. Jubilee and ODM are yet to strike a consensus on whether they shall field a joint candidate in the spirit of the handshake or not. There is also debate on whether former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waitito should be cleared to run even after the registrar of political parties gave him the green light as an independent candidate. The by-election is also likely to split Jubilee into two, with DP Ruto and his allies expected to support an independent candidate. Parties had until Monday to submit the names of their aspirants to IEBC, after which, when cleared by the electoral body, political parties will then head to nominations ahead of the by-election slated for February 18th. Nanok Lauren, TV47.
Well, still in politics, and it is now apparent that the newly formed United Democratic Party will be Deputy President William Ruto's vehicle for his 2022 presidential bid. So a Member of Parliament and Jubilee Deputy Secretary General Caleb Kositani confirmed today that Ruto and his allies are friends to the new party and that they will eventually leave Jubilee for United Democratic Party. Other DP Ruto's allies affirmed Kositani's sentiments in Mosop during the burial of the father of the area MP Vincent Tuwei.
Sisi tuko katika chama cha Jubilee na shida ile tumepata huko ni mingi. Kwa hivyo hii chama imeundwa, wenye wameunda ni sawa waunde. Itafika wakati watu watahama kwa hii chama ya Jubilee, Jubilee wapende wasipende. But for now sisi tulichaguliwa kwa chama cha Jubilee. Hii chama imebadilisha tu jina na wamebadilisha pia symbol, and it is all right. That is democracy. Democracy ya nchi. Hakuna sheria wamevunja. Sasa nyinyi mnahangaika na kusema hii chama kama ni ya William Ruto iko na, kama chama ya William Ruto ni ya William Ruto itajulikana kule 2022.
Na sisi kama viongozi tukiona kwamba Jubilee tumefungiwa nyumba, sisi tutatafuta urafiki na kila na vyama vingine. Ikifika 2022 tutaamua kama ndio hiyo tutatumia ama itakuwa chama gani.
You're watching the county's television, TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi. Keep talking to us. Send us a message on 22047. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more news after this break. Stay tuned.
ebindaya tanu, ebindaya moyo, ebindaya time, ebindaya nguma, kwata kawaya, kwate vyo. Hey, what's up? My name is Movie, and thank you. For the last 3 months, we've been watching Coffee with Movie. Nasema ni asante, nashukuru. Thank you for the suggestions, for the opinions, for the suggestions of who you want us to have, and the better ideas of how we can modify this show to suit you as best as possible. Nataka ni wish Merry Christmas, Happy Brand New Year 2021. Au sio? It will be bigger, greater, fuller, excellenter. Au sio? I wish you a Merry Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New 2021, yo.
We let you take us through your journey.
The report of the scan came out. The doctor told us that the scan is showing my baby had already passed on.
I don't like people standing too close to me. I don't like people standing behind me.
And give hope after beating all odds.
We don't choose how we are born. We don't choose how we are raised. The choices we have in this life are virtually limited.
Only on Confessions with Maria every Saturday at 8 p.m.
Sunday yes, Sunday mwami. Mtumishi hapa papa unichasero bayai niweze kumushinda shetani. Sunday yes. Tuko ndani ya TV47, don't move, usisonge, pakia hapo na tuna hang out na Coffee with Mbufi na tunaelekea wakati wa Christmas. Please share. Ukiona kakitu tu, pitia mahali wachia mtu na utachaswa na roho ya TV47. Papa unichase roho, niweze kumushinda shetani. Sunday wacha nimalizie chai.
Ebindaya seo, ebindaya tanu, ebindaya moyo, ebindaya time, ebindaya nguma, kwata kawaya, kwate vyo. Hey, what's up? My name is Movie, and thank you. For the last 3 months, we've been watching Coffee with Movie. Nasema ni asante, nashukuru. Thank you for the suggestions, for the opinions, for the suggestions of who you want us to have, and the better ideas of how we can modify this show to suit you as best as possible. Nataka ni wish Merry Christmas, Happy Brand New Year 2021. Au sio? It will be bigger, greater, fuller, excellenter. Au sio? I wish you a Merry Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New 2021, yo.
We let you take us through your journey.
The report of the scan came out. The doctor told us that the scan is showing my baby had already passed on.
I don't like people standing too close to me. I don't like people standing behind me.
And give hope after beating all odds.
We don't choose how we are born. We don't choose how we are raised. The choices we have in this life are virtually limited.
Only on Confessions with Maria every Saturday at 8 p.m.
Sunday yes, Sunday mwami. Mtumishi hapa papa unichasero bayai niweze kumushinda shetani. Sunday yes. Tuko ndani ya TV47, don't move, usisonge, pakia hapo na tuna hang out na Coffee with Mbufi na tunaelekea wakati wa Christmas. Please share. Ukiona kakitu tu, pitia mahali wachia mtu na utachaswa na roho ya TV47. Papa unichase roho, niweze kumushinda shetani. Sunday wacha nimalizie chai.
Ebindaya seo, ebindaya tanu, ebindaya moyo, ebindaya time, ebindaya nguma, kwata kawaya, kwate vyo. Hey, what's up? My name is Movie, and thank you. For the last 3 months, we've been watching Coffee with Movie. Nasema ni asante, nashukuru. Thank you for the suggestions, for the opinions, for the suggestions of who you want us to have, and the better ideas of how we can modify this show to suit you as best as possible. Nataka ni wish Merry Christmas, Happy Brand New Year 2021. Au sio? It will be bigger, greater, fuller, excellenter. Au sio? I wish you a Merry Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New 2021, yo.
we let you take us through your journey.
The report of the scan came out. The doctor told us that the scan is showing my baby had already passed on.
I don't like people standing too close to me. I don't like people standing behind me.
And give hope after beating all odds.
We don't choose how we are born. We don't choose how we are raised.
This is TV47. Happy holidays.
Welcome back. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. Now, as the National Cereals and Produce Board, NCPB, starts to open its depots for commercial maize purchase from farmers across the country, farmers in Uasin Gishu County have demanded for better prices for their produce, urging the government to stop cartels from importing maize in order to cushion the local farmers.
Large-scale farmers in Uasin Gishu County, led by Moiben MP Silas Teren, visited Eldoret Depot Tuesday after the National Board issued guidelines to regional depot officials ahead of the process to commence purchase of stocks from farmers for the 2020-2021 financial year.
Let us use the right means of making money. Hii maneno ya kudanganya watu kwa unaweza kuwa millionaire overnight na usemi ni biashara gani unafanya, tusidanganye watu yetu wa Kenya.
Cereals farmers, particularly in North Rift region, are still holding a bulk of maize whose harvest was concluded recently.
Imefunguliwa kweli na cereals wako na pesa, lakini unaona nafikiria lori moja ama mbili imekuja kwa sababu bei haijaridhisha wakulima kwa sababu hiyo iko chini.
NCPB will buy maize from farmers at 2,500 shillings per 90 kilogram bag, but farmers want a high price of 3,000 shillings per 90 kilogram bag.
Tulipata mvua mzuri na tumevuna, lakini vile bei imeanza sio mzuri. Hapa Uasin Gishu it's about 5 million bucks.
Currently, some farmers in North Rift region are reportedly selling their produce from farm gates to traders in the informal market, while others are selling to millers who offer prices ranging between 2,200 shillings and 2,400 shillings per 90 kilogram bag.
Kate Farm wanaona na 2550 to 2600 tukiongea sasa hivi siku ya leo, na National Cereals wamenunua na shilingi 2,500. Kwa hivyo wako na chini kwa shilingi 100 ama shilingi 50.
One of the other major challenge for farmers is the requirement to supply maize that is aflatoxin free.
Cereal pia umetoka na jambo ya kusema kama mahindi yako itapatikana iko na aflatoxin kwa mfano, ama ina mahindi iko na shida aflatoxin iko high, pia wangetaka kujua because wako pia na dawa yenye tunaweza weka kwa shamba so that to reduce maneno ya aflatoxin. So it is also ni mzuri utokeze ukuje mahindi pimwe kama iko na shida, then tuweze kureverse hiyo maneno so that next year tusikue na hiyo shida.
Calvin Chitwa, TV47, Uasin Gishu County.
Elsewhere, for many years, pumpkin was regarded as one of the less important crops in Rwanda. And to change that mindset, Marie Mukagahima began extensive research on pumpkin processing to see how more value could be added to the product. Diana Iriza, our reporter in Kigali, takes us to her workshop to find out more.
The 27-year-old is a graduate from the National University of Rwanda with a major in international economics. She started her pumpkin processing business in 2017, and she wanted to create an opportunity that can improve lives through nutrition and help farmers use local resources to process foods.
We process different products like pumpkin cookies, pumpkin oil, pumpkin flour, and roasted pumpkin seeds. We also grow them through different cooperatives of rural women farmers in district, and they supply them to us. Then we process them into different products. We sort them to the different supermarkets in the country.
As a child, Mukaga Hima said she grew up seeing many people from her community grow pumpkins mainly for sale, with a few using them as food. She saw a lot of pumpkins go bad and wasted as people would not eat all of them as much. Having an entrepreneur mind, she decided to carry out research on the plant, where she discovered that the pumpkin has a lot of nutritional value and can be turned into a business.
Many farmers are the forest, unfortunately, which should be not the case, because as long as they have land, they should have technology and the knowledge how to exploit them. So we came up with the idea how we can help them with technology, with skills, how to use or to grow different products like pumpkins. Then they grow pumpkins, they supply them to us, they are sure of markets, permanent markets. So far we have 10 permanent employees and 10 non-permanent. We expect to grow our business so that we can even hire more than 100.
Ange Mukaga Hima discovered that in spite of being rich in dietary fibers, vitamins, she says that the pumpkin seeds help in the prevention of most common NCDs. Pumpkin seeds prevent heart diseases, diabetes, prostate cancer, and constipation. The crop has been looked down on in the Rwandan households, as many termed it as food for the poor.
We have chosen pumpkin seeds or pumpkin in general because it is a crop that meet our country. All over in our country, you can grow pumpkins. And unfortunately, they often say that it was food for peasant people, while it was the one that have benefits, contribute to the all people, peasant, non-peasant, rural, urban, everywhere. We advise ourselves, why not took pumpkins and process them. Also, it is beneficial, it is healthy.
Now from Rwanda, let's reflect on the year that was and still is 2020. Now the pressure was on, everyone was feeling the heat, from learners, their parents, to the government. 7 months down the line, the school calendar was in shambles. Something had to give in. And on the 12th of October 2020, schools reopened for grade 4, class 8 and form 4 learners. But was that decision untimely? A few weeks after the 3 classes resumed learning, some schools started reporting cases of COVID-19. Now, our senior education affairs reporter Sharon Baranga looks at the effects of COVID-19 in learning institutions.
We have suspended learning in all our education institutions with immediate effect. Consequently, and to facilitate a phased approach, primary and secondary day schools are to suspend operations from tomorrow. For those in boarding schools, the school administration is to ensure that students are home by Wednesday, the 18th March 2020, while universities and tertiary institutions are to close by Friday, 20th March 2020.
Following the 15th March 2020 presidential announcement on the indefinite closure of schools, all activities lined up on the school calendar froze in time. At that time, a majority of learners were preparing to sit their end of Term 1 examinations, but that was not to be. Many did not expect the closure to last for months, but as it turned out, learners were forced to remain at home for months as the country went on a lockdown in efforts to try contain the spread of COVID-19. But in the months that followed, there was pressure from learners and their parents. Some of them, the candidates of 2020, panicked that they will be forced to repeat a class. The Ministry of Education was also not at peace. With the altered school calendar and learners who were keen on resuming learning, the government had to find a solution.
This pandemic did not give anybody notice.
Nothing will replace the interpersonal relationship between the child and the teacher. And that's why when we resume learning, then we shall ensure that that particular relationship is picked from where we left, and that every child will be able to get an equal opportunity.
In May, the Ministry of Education appointed a 9-member committee led by Sarah Ruto. Their assignment was to explore the best possible strategies of restoring normalcy in the education sector, from reopening of schools to saving the school calendar.
The ministry will continue to engage with the National Task Force on COVID-19 and other relevant government agencies from time to time on policy directions and interventions for the prevention of COVID-19 to ensure that policy on hygiene and social distancing by schools are observed and adhered to when we reopen.
Fast forward 7 months later, on 12th October 2020, schools reopened for Grade 4, Class 8 and Form 4 learners. This was the first phase of reopening of schools. But a few days later, some schools started reporting COVID-19 infections. It started from the Star of the Sea and Tononoka High School in Mombasa. Soon, a number of schools from different counties had cases of infection of the virus. Some teachers succumbed to it, which sparked another debate. Was it too early for learning institutions to reopen?
The threat of COVID is not on children. Children will be largely safe, but they will be asymptomatic carriers. The biggest group that is a threat are teachers. And we've seen quite a number of them have died.
We are encouraging teachers who are aged 58 and above, and those with pre-existing conditions to work from home as much as possible. These teachers can be utilized in offering critical duties such as preparing schemes of service, schemes of work, teaching aids, and marking, amongst others, so that they can keep the teachers who are actively in class with lesser load.
Because life must continue as long as we obey the protocols that are given, which unfortunately most of us are not obeying.
But the government was adamant. Learning will continue. Students and teachers affected will be placed in isolation centers within their school compounds, where they will be monitored as they received treatment. President Uhuru Kenyatta went ahead and directed the Ministry of Education to design another school calendar, and 4th January 2021 was picked as the ideal date on when full learning will resume.
This will apply to PP1 and 2, Grade 1, 2 and 3, Class 5, 6 and 7, and Form 1, 2 and 3 learners. 2. All 4-year-olds will join PP1 in July 2021. Number 3, Pre-Primary 1 and 2, Grade 1, 2 and 3, Class 5, 6 and 7, and Form 1, 2 and 3 learners will start their second term on the 4th of January 2021 and end on the 19th of March 2021, together with Grade 4 candidates.
In a few days, all learners will resume school from where they left at in March, when all school activities stopped following the indefinite closure after the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the country. However, the scars from the pandemic will continue to be felt for a long time in the learning institutions, as some lost their teachers to the virus and some private schools were affected to an extent that they are not sure they will be back in operation anytime soon. Some may never reopen at all. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Well, still on COVID-19 and its impact on the education sector. And 2020 has been one unpredictable year, with the education sector falling victim of the cloud of uncertainty that hung within the sector since mid-March, when all schools were closed. Our education affairs reporter Andrin Kilemi now gives us a recap of the year that was, the impact that COVID-19 has had on the sector, the steps towards conforming to its effect, as well as efforts to save the seemingly lost academic year.
To reopen or not to reopen schools was a key question all through 2020. What would have been an ordinary school year turned to a year of uncertainties, confusion and distraction. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha was the bearer of the disheartening news to anxious parents, teachers and over 15 million learners in primary and secondary schools. The worst hit being about 2 million KCPE and KCSE 2020 candidates.
Don't take this wrongly, but the disease is still increasing. And the bottom line is that we shall not open until the disease has stopped increasing and stabilized for 14 days.
Reopening schools would have meant a health crisis and a likely surge in the infections and spread of coronavirus given the high numbers of learners in schools.
I do not think the president will be happy to open schools when we are still spiking. I'm not speaking for him, but the way I know he loves our children, to him, even one child getting dead that is avoidable is something that we are not going to deal with.
There are approximately 46,530 pre-primary centers, 32,344 primary schools, and 10,487 secondary schools. The Ministry of Education, in an attempt to contain the spread of the virus, made numerous efforts to chart a way forward for the education system, which seemed to be crumbling on its feet.
TSC will mobilize all teachers to embark on the community-based learning programs that the Ministry of Education will launch today. Thereafter, the Commission will issue guidelines to guide our teachers on the implementation of the programs. And we'll be asking our teachers that wherever they are, as they also obey the MOH protocols, they are at home like the rest of us mostly, and we'll just be telling them that wherever they are in the community that they are in, they then engage our children so that our children are not left alone for a long time.
Different proposals came about, with one requiring each classroom to have approximately 15 to 20 learners seated 1.5 meters apart. This would require for more funds to build more classrooms, more desks, and even get more teachers. Social distancing evidently proving to be the elephant in the room.
This is a lesson for all of us. And in the Kenyan context, we've over-enrolled our classes. It's a lesson. Moving forward, we have to decongest and comply with the UN standards of classes not exceeding 35 learners per class. And of course, we've also learned very strongly that we need more resources. In fact, more than security. Money that should be wired to education should be at least minimum 6% of the GDP and minimum 20% of the overall government expenditure. And that more money, more resources should come to education. And every child from early childhood to grade 12 should access education that is provided publicly by the state.
The pandemic imposing a massive shift to online and home learning, which was relatively a new phenomenon to most learners and educators who are forced out of learning institutions. This, however, proved to be difficult as it is a form of education that has received minimal attention within the Kenyan context. On the contrary, e-learning created room for institutions, and especially those of higher learning, to embrace technology, with most varsities conducting classes and even graduations virtually.
As far as the university sector is concerned, extremely good work is being done online. To this extent, some of them have already graduated, both in public and private sector. So we want to encourage the university sector to continue to offer online programs. I am aware that there are many universities at the moment that are offering online exams.
The closure of schools spelled doom for private schools in the country, with over 194 of them shut down, never to be reopened, rendering close to 1,600 teachers jobless, as over 39,000 learners are left stranded, with no schools to report to once learning resume in January next year.
So when schools were unable to reopen as expected, some of our schools were unable to meet their bills, especially those that were operating in rented premises and those that had less numbers that could not be able to sustain some of their programs. So what we are doing as private schools is to try and find out how can we assist our private schools in mitigating some of the effects of this pandemic.
Top on the list of reopening protocols was the in-person learning, which suffered a blow after teachers and learners tested positive for COVID-19.
Therefore, the time that we've lost in the 2 terms that the students have been at home, we shall be able to recover it up to 2023. It is going to take a toll on the students, all the education practitioners, because it is sort of a crash program, but we hope that things are going to get better. And I've seen the termed it. There's a bit of some challenge. For example, in 2022, we're going to have general elections, and the classrooms are usually in Kenya being used as polling centers. So you can imagine the election, which is going to take place in 2022, and then there happens to be a runoff, which is supposed to be conducted within 30 days. And therefore, I think the examination, the term dates could have considered the context of Kenya, the political context, where in 2022 we have elections, and therefore there was need to give room for the political process to go on perhaps for a month or so that there is no disturbance in the education sector.
According to psychologists, depression, anxiety and stress among students related to COVID-19 were high.
We cannot underestimate, and this is something I proposed earlier on, that we need to look at the psychological well-being of these children. If it's possible, when they report to schools, they can be assessed on the level of psychological status, basically on anxiety levels, because some of them think they might not catch up in school. Some of them think they have lost too much, so they've already given up, they have lost hope. And so we are talking about children with depressive signs and symptoms.
And as the country gears towards the full reopening of schools in January 2021, parents and teachers are urged to treat students with the care they deserve.
Because it would be very unfair if our children perform in a very poor way and we know why, and we continue rating them the same way. I also pray that parents do not push their children. Right now we have the grade 4, they are at home, they've taken a break for Christmas. We have the Form 4s, they've taken a break for Christmas. They have taken a break. Parents, these children have taken a break. When you keep reminding them, oh, when you go back, oh, you're going to sit for your KCSE, you're going to sit for your KCPE, do not add more anxiety to these children.
The year 2020 will with no doubts go down in history as the only year in which learning was halted for a long period of time. Andrine Kilemi, TV 47.
And so indeed is it the lost academic year, and the recap coverage continues tonight. The education sector has been in the front focus. More sectors will be in our flashback as we look back at the year that was, and still partly naggingly is 2020. Let's get to the world of sports now. Now, horse racing is a sport which is slowly gaining ground in Kenya, and despite the challenges lingering, the sport of kings, which is largely dominated by men, a queen reigns, topping Kenya's leaderboard for years. But how did 46-year-old Leslie Sakombe defy the odds to become one of the best jokers in the country? Our sports reporter Stephen Kiprop has the details.
In the sport of kings, tradition, heritage and pedigree are sovereign. Success on the track is the last chapter of a story that started centuries ago. But here in Kenya, horse racing has been dominated by a queen, and we are here at the Ngong Race Course to trace her journey from the start of the race to the finish line, where impressive results she has registered has placed her on top of the Kenya's leaderboard. A sport that dates back to colonial Kenya, gaining ground in the country a century ago. This is horse racing, better known as the sport of kings. But for more than a decade and counting, the sport of kings has seen this queen take the crown, staying top of the Kenya's leaderboard for years.
Being champion jockey 15 times in Kenya is a huge achievement for me. And for me, just learning so much about racehorses and these horses as individuals has been one of my, I think, most rewarding aspects of racing, and being able to get them to perform as well as they can.
Horse racing has not only scaled the 46-year-old Leslie Sakombe to greater heights, but also improved her mental health, which she finds even more fulfilling.
I was at university. I've just graduated as a veterinary surgeon from Nairobi, and one of my saving graces, I think, for my mental health actually was coming here every morning and riding horses. It's almost like, for me, meditation, and it's really very good for your soul to be with these animals. As you can see, they're actually very kind. It's us who make them to be difficult at the end of the day.
But as notes the quadragenarian, before getting a horse to grace the tracks, a lot has to be considered to ensure that you are en route to be one of the best jockeys in the country.
A racehorse has to be a thoroughbred for starters. That's the rules. They have to be born as thoroughbreds. To determine whether they're going to be a racehorse or not, you very much go on their breeding, like who their father and mother is, how they look, that's their conformation. Also, what their previous family have done, in the sense of what their records have been. Have they won races? Have they not won races? You know, do they have problems where they go lame? All that sort of thing, I think, is very indicative of what makes a racehorse. And the first thing is soundness. You know, your horse has to have 4 legs that are functioning, and they are conformed correctly. If you buy a horse with any weaknesses, you're likely to get issues. Because remember, this is a very fast sport. It's very, very strenuous on their legs, and they have to have the body and the strength to carry them, and they have to have the legs to go with that, to hold that speed.
The horses are usually bought when young, often between the ages of 1 and 2, then known as the yearling, trained for at least 6 months before they graze the tracks as 3-year-olds.
When we get them, first of all, we get them as youngsters where they haven't been taught anything. So you have to teach them to be ridden, and then you get them conditioned, which is strong, you know, like trotting. And then we teach them to canter, and then from that you teach them to gallop. And then from that, you make sure that they're strong enough, first of all, to be able to gallop. And then it's like any athlete that's doing a sport, like any of the athletes that do track or marathon running, you have to get them fit. Usually it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get them race fit, depending on whether they're coming back from an injury or whether they're being, coming back as a 2-year-old, which will take longer because we have to condition them, which is put muscle on them so that they can carry themselves to be ready to do high speeds.
A large number of people in love with the horse racing are often put off by the costly nature of the sport. The cost of buying and maintaining a horse is high. Nonetheless, SACCOM has some advice for those yearning to be part of the sport of kings.
My personal advice to anybody who wants to be part of this sport, which is a really, it's a sport of kings, is to go in a syndicate, which means you get a group of you, like your bar buddies or people you hang out with, your friends, and you all put money in towards a horse, and then you have it as a group, which is the way forward for people who, can't afford to own one themselves. Because you don't hire them, you actually buy them as 2-year-olds, and then you teach them to race, and then you go through their career as your horse.
SACCOM is a candle that continues to light other candles. Among them, Richard Kibeitu has now been on the racing industry for 19 years.
Kama sio farasi sijui sahi ningekuwa wapi, because imenitoa mbali, na katika hali ya kimaisha, kiuchumi, farasi ndio imekuwa kikuzo kubwa kwangu. Mbio za farasi zinalipa, especially when you are patient, na kitu ya muhimu ni kupenda na utie bidii kwa kazi yako, farasi hulipa.
Kibeitu started off as a runner, is keen on horse racing, hoping to be a trainer as soon as he bows out of racing.
Wakati nilikuwa nakimbia mbio za miguu, nikawa nimevutiwa sana na maneno ya farasi, nikapenda kwa sababu mbio ni same na athletic ya miguu. So hiyo ndio kitu ilinituma niingie kwa industry ya farasi. Ningependa sana kukuwa trainer ya farasi, because mimi napenda sana, because iko kwa damu, and also it's my passion. And ningependa kukuwa trainer, na the other thing ni kufunza upcoming youngsters. Yeah.
Unlike any other sport, horse racing was blown apart by the novel coronavirus, which altered the sporting events after the first case was reported in Kenya on 13th March 2020.
We didn't race for 8 months, so we really struggled. We've only just started back and there's still no spectators, which sadly, this is a spectator sport. So, it's been tough. It's been tough riding with no spectators and not having the prize money and everything that you would have if you had sponsorship, because at the moment we have no sponsorship. So we're struggling, to keep the owners happy and to make enough money to meet our overheads as a stable.
This has even been made worse by the government neglect, as even as Kenyan horse racers plot to take the international scene by storm.
There's very little involvement with the government. We could really do with their help. The land, I believe, was from the government about over 100 years ago. But as far as the government helping this sport, they haven't helped us at all.
The Kenyan horse racing season is expected to resume in January 2021, with SACCOM lacking to reign supreme yet again. Stephen Kiprop for TV47 Sports.
Well, and so well does it that in the sports of kings, a queen reigns. And at that point where a queen is taking charge of a queendom is where we'll have to end the bulletin. Thanks for watching. I'm Abubakar Abdullahi on behalf of the entire team that made this production possible. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of our programs and enjoy your holidays. Good night.